Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
送ったよね、今。ピンって言ってるの。
Yeah.
ちょっとその URL 送って。
はい。
Strange.
We have a few technical difficulties that we are dealing with right now. Right, I've sent that to you. Okay, you got it? For some reason, we accidentally deleted the YouTube planned video. So we have to redo it and send out a new URL that is going out to everybody round about now. So if you're watching this, you're watching the recording of it. There is actually nobody in the room yet with us. It's just gone out now, hasn't it? So we should be expecting people to jump in very soon.
No problem.
No problem. But like I always say in my classroom to the kids, like it's always something. Always something. And today was a little bit of technical trouble. Hopefully teachers will be joining it. Oh, somebody is in the house. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We apologize for the delayed start of this evening's broadcast. There were some technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for getting the replacement URL. Some other people are joining us now. Good evening. So sorry. We had some technical problems with the URL address. Good evening. Great to see you. So sorry for the technical problems we've had. Thank you for joining us. We hope others will be joining us soon. The chat box is alive and well. So go ahead, please use it. Let us know who you are.
みのり先生。
みのり先生。
すぐね、連絡くださってありがとうございます。ちょっとね、ギリギリまでちょっと他のズームとか、
other discussions and things.
あったんで、ちょっとちゃんと確認できなかったんですけど、まさか消えてるとは思わずに。
Yeah.
すいません。
But thanks for coming into our new URL. How's everybody? How was your day? バタバタね。バタバタですね。
まあでも、いいですね。
I like October. And my students all know I like October. Because it's my birthday.
そうそう。10月4日が
Yes.
動物の日。
Yes.
マシュのお誕生日ですね。何歳になりますか？
Yes. My hearing is not so good anymore.
もうやだ、耳が遠くなってるっていう話。
So, yeah, I'll just answer yes to everything. If I answer yes to a question inappropriately, it means I didn't hear the question.
So annoying. いやー、ちょっとバタバタでしたね。すいません。でもまあなんとかね、スタートできてよかったです。すぐ発行できて。
Did you notice the toothbrushes?
そう。思わず嬉しくて、LINE 公式アカウントにも歯ブラシを送ってみました。私が曲げた。
Yeah. So Hiromi was bored. She's like, no, I'm not going to brush my teeth. I'm just going to bend them.
そうじゃないんだけどね。いや、なんかちょっとやってみようかなと思って、やってみたら、曲がると思って、これは面白いと思って、子供たちの前とかね、 マッシュの前で見て見てって言って、
Do you want to see the actual brush? I've got them. Should we show them?
そう、今日持ってったんでしょプリス
I
クー
took
ル
them
に
to。school. I took them to school.
うん。
So here's the first one that Hiromi bent.
そうそうそうそうそう。
So Mike, I said to them, I hid them in this shopping bag, and I said, kids, today I'm going to show you something you've never seen ever. And they were amazed. Right, I showed them this one first, and then I showed them the one that Leisha did, which was this one. Leisha's our daughter.
娘がね、
Yeah.
そうそうそう。もう力でね。力でバキってやっちゃったやつね。
And then I showed them a video that we took of Hiromi bending it.
そうそう。なんか、信じてないっていうかさ、お湯につけたんでしょとかなんとか言われるから、じゃあ曲げてるとこ撮ってみるってことになって、ビデオを撮ったんですよ。
I wonder if you could, I wonder if it'll come out. What do you think of this? Can you see this?
見える?
Yeah, this is the video that we took yesterday.
It's a toothbrush. It's bent. And Hiromi just bent it just now. You got another one in your hand now. You're going to bend that one. Show everybody straight. Show everybody first. Show your hand straight. Perfectly straight toothbrush.
ちょっとね、こうカーブがあるけどね。
There's a little bit of a curve there, but otherwise than that, it's a regular normal toothbrush.
これ曲げられそう?
Can I bend it? Can you? I'm not wearing a shirt. Maybe no. All right. You going to bend it for us?
いいよ。
Okay.
ちょっと待ってね。
はい。
もうちょっといけるかな。そんなにね、力いらないの。そうなんだ。
Why didn't it break?
Right? So that was the video we took yesterday. And so Hiromi showed me how to do it. So me being me.
Okay, well, I'm going to try and bend it. And Hiromi has just told me how she does it. And based on her explanation, I'm going to try and do it.
See? Good on you.
I did it. Thank you.
You're welcome. っていうね、まあ、くだらない、宴会芸みたいなことをしたわけですよ。
And showed the kids the video. And they thought it was amazing.
ねえ。面白いですね。
And I also showed my high school kids
Really?
this evening. I had a high school class, 2 kids,
Right.
and I showed them and they were like really shocked or astounded. But they did say they had done it with spoons before.
Right, right.
But never with toothbrushes. And they were amazed because they thought it would break.
そうそうそう。こういうね。
Yeah.
こういうに割れちゃう感じがしますよね。
Yeah. So I told them.
全然割れずに行くんですよね。面白いですよね、これね。
Yeah. So the high school kids' homework was to bend a toothbrush and bring it next week.
本当?
Yeah.
Wow. I hope that you can make it.
And then one of the students, the boy, he said, well, my toothbrush is an electric toothbrush.
ああ、それ
And I
は。
said, don't bend that. He goes, but that's all I've got. And I said, well, just buy one. They're really cheap.
Yeah.
Just pick them up from the drugstore and try and bend it.
そう、100円ショップとかね。
100円ショップだね。そうそうそうそう。
いや、なんか面白かったね。
Yeah.
まあ、anyway、はい、これはいいとして、
はい。
ちょっとね、嬉しかったから、おお、曲がる
Yes,
曲
so
が
was
ると思
I.
って。
And so here's that's the second one that Hiromi bent. And then this was the one that I did. That's a pretty good job. It's got a nice angle on it, but yours has got the best angle.
いや、でもこれまた元に戻せるからね。
Yeah, no, don't do that.
あ、そう。
You know, because I'm feeling it, it's quite hard. Now, I had the confidence to bend it, but I don't have the confidence to put it back.
All right. But it's easy.
It should be the same.
Yeah, same.
The same. Anyway, enough about
でも
toothbrushes.
これ、こういうのできるとさ、こう掃除しにくいところとか、歯とか右にくいけど、こうなんか、お掃除に役立ちそうじゃない？ちょっとこっち角度向けたりとかしたら。
Yeah, because I reckon you could reach higher. Like if you need to clean the top of your windows
そう
or
そう
whatever.
そう。ね、サッシと
Yeah,
か
you
さ。
don't have to like hold it straight like that.
うんうん
You could just keep your
そう
arm
そう、意
low.
外に実用的じゃない。まあ、歯磨くのあれだけど、なんかね、掃除とか上の方とかさ、こう窓の、ね、フレーム、
意外に実用的。
そうそう、こうやって磨く。ね、
Yeah,
it's fun.
so try it at home.
うん。
Please don't break too many. Fun, fun, fun.
いや、面白かった。
So
そうなんだ、見せたの、高校生にも見せたんだ。
I'll be using this
Right.
probably every class for a week, I think.
For a while.
Hey,
ね、思っちゃったね、これ。はい。はい。
now today's topic, we're talking about students with a lack of confidence.
うん。
Now, I can't remember, we may have discussed this in the past.
うんうん。
This may or may not be the first time we've talked about this. I apologize if we're revisiting this topic, but it's okay to revisit topics. But it follows on the back of last week's discussion on slightly slower than others learners.
うんうん。
He's doing pretty good, by the way, although he had a yogurt problem today.
What?
So the young man in our
Right,
class.
right, right.
Okay. His snack every day is yogurt,
Yogurt.
and we use a big mat. So he wasn't sitting on the mat, right? He
Right.
was sitting off the mat.
Oh.
And so I said, would you mind, come and sit on the mat. And so I was sitting on the other side of the mat. And so I patted the mat to show him he needed to sit on the mat.
Right.
So he thought I meant come over to me. So he picked up his yogurt, he picked up his drink bottle, and he picked up so much other stuff, and he walked over, and it was on an angle and just like dripped yogurt right across the mat. But it was on the mat, not on the floor. So that was, he lost most of his snack,
Right.
just moving onto the mat.
おー、かわいそう。
Yeah. He just needed to move up onto the mat.
Maybe you should like prepare a brick or Lego piece.
Well, same thing. His name should be on the mat.
Right.
This is where you
Yeah,
sit.
yeah.
Now we're doing a school play
Mm-hmm.
for at the end of the year or the beginning of next year.
ああ、今やってるあの練習のやつ。
Yes.
ああ、OK, OK, OK.
We are doing a play. So my team teachers had a really bright idea of we should get the kids to do a play. And the play we're doing is the story of Setsubu.
Right.
And I didn't know there was a story behind Setsubu. I just thought it was just a tradition. And it's obviously a tradition, throwing beans at the devil or the demons.
Right, right.
But there's a story behind it, and I didn't know. And I'm sure everybody watching here knows the story, but it was new to me. And the story goes, there were these demons, and they didn't want spring to come. They wanted to stay winter forever. But the spring fairies were responsible for bringing spring and putting an end to winter.
Right.
So the demons had an idea of, well, if we catch the spring fairies and we put them into a cage, then it will be winter forever. And so they did that. Then the villagers were not happy that it was still winter and spring was never coming.
Right.
So they go out to investigate and they find the cage with the spring fairies inside and the demons protecting the cage.
Right.
So they have a fight.
Right.
And they win the fight by throwing beans at the demons.
Right.
And the demons don't like beans and they go away, and the villagers open the cage and release the spring fairies. And that's the story.
Okay.
So we're doing that as a play.
Right.
with our kids, our kindergarten kids, preschool kids.
Right.
There are 14 kids, and there's only 3 characters. You're either a villager, a demon, or a spring fairy.
Right.
And we've got dances and stuff. And so our young boy, he is one of the villagers.
Okay.
He doesn't have anything to say. Or he's got things to say, but he doesn't say anything.
Right.
Chooses not to say anything. Okay, no problem. But he does cooperate or try to cooperate with the dancers. At first he wasn't, but recently he's kind of slowly getting into it a bit. So that's going to be great. Good on him. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, today's question or today's topic, confidence in students, follows on from last week.
Right.
What are your thoughts, Hiromi?
いきなりいや、ちょっと。
まあ、トピック全体的に関しては。
いるよね。
います。
自信がないっていう。なんかもう、すべてに、もう最初入ってからもうすべてに自信がないみたいな。よくほら、根拠のある自信をつけるとか言うじゃない？ self-efficacy の話。その逆、根拠のない自信を持ってるっていうか、もう、なんかもう reason なく自信がないっていうか、もう何にも経験してないのに、なんかすべてにおいてこうネガティブというか、すべてにおいてこう、コンフィデンスがない子ってたまにいるよね。どうしちゃったのみたいなね。
そうなの。じゃあね、when you were a child, how was your confidence?
あんまり覚えてないけど、なんかね、幼稚園ぐらいの時には結構ポジティブで何でもチャレンジしてたけど、高学年ぐらいになってから、いわゆる中学受験をするようになってからすごい自信がなくなったかな。
Sorry, when you were, say that again? Sorry? 中学校受験の時。
そう。だから小学校6年生とか5年生とか6年生とかかな。ぐ
うん。
らいになってからなんかいろんなことに自信がないっていうか、自信がないっていうかね、学校の成績は良かったけど、なんか、
Do you think it might have been the age? Because maybe I know a lot of kids at that age are very conscious of their bodies and shy and stuff like that. Was that an issue with you?
No, なんかボディとかそういうのはなかったけど、なんかこう、親の期待に応えられないんじゃないかっていう自信のなさ。なんか親が望むような結果が出せないかもしれないとか、なんかね、その時、今思うと、結構その親のプレッシャーみたいなのをすごく感じてて、なんか、親の言う通りにやらないと、Oh, I would make them really disappointed みたいな感じがあったし、そう、そのぐらいからちょっとなんかちょっとね、自信がないっていうか、
いう
のは感じたかもしれない。で、あと中学校入ったらもう完全になかったね、自信がね。
If I had a student like that who told me this story, I would say, you should speak to your parents.
今はならそういうね。なんかね、やっぱ時代もあったんだと思うんだよね。私みたいにほら、もう50近い、50ぐらいのさ、人、だから、もう30何年前とか40年前とかっていうのは、やっぱちょっと違うよね。
時代は違う。
そう。で今の時代はもっとこうチョイスがあっていいし、ね、そういうプレッシャーを感じなくても、なんか当時それこそさ、40年ぐらい前とかって、なんか勉強していい学校行っていい就職ね、に勤めるっていうのがもう絶対安泰みたいな感じだったけど。
Unquestioned, wasn't it? That was the unquestioned
でももう、
path.
もう40年前とかそうだよね。だけ
Yeah.
ども、今は、
ね、even as recently as like 20 years ago, or 25 years ago when I first came to Japan, that was the norm. It kind of started changing when what's the name of the big, when that big financial company, when that went under, attitude started changing. Security bond. Right. that attitude started changing.
そうね、ああいう大手が潰れるんだみたいなね、
Yeah.
ことがあってか、あとリーマンショックもそうだし、
Yeah.
まあ、そういうのがあると、やっぱりもうね、あとやっぱ AI だよね。
Mm.
インダストリーがさ、もう、マニファクチャリングがもう人間じゃなくてもできるみたいな、
You would think,
3D プリンターとかさ。
Shauna, you would think that the technology and the AI that we have to work with and play with would actually be good for kids' confidence because their options are bigger. They can, they have access to information and access. Good evening, Kaori Sensei. They have access to real life heroes, real life role models. Now, when we were kids, our role models were superheroes who flew in the sky. Here, you could see a YouTuber or be a fan of somebody who was really just like you yourself. So you would think that that could affect positively people's kids' self-confidence. I'm going to be like that. I could be like that.
そうね。
But it doesn't seem to be the case. If anything, I wouldn't say it's getting worse, but I haven't seen any marked improvement in kids' self-confidence. You've still got kids, students in your class who either are really quiet or they are obviously nervous, or they cry when they make mistakes. That's a big one.
いや、でもね、やっぱ思うんだけどさ、そういうのもキャラクターの一つでさ、まあそれを経て何か変わればいいわけで、例えばね、泣くことが悪いってなると、泣けなくなるっていうのも良くないじゃない？泣きたいのに泣かない子っていう、すごく我慢をする子より、実は涙が出ちゃうぐらいの方が、本当はもしかしたら素直なのかもしれない。
Yes.
泣ける分ね。ただ、でも言ってるのわかるよ。そんな泣くようなことじゃないのに泣くっていうことは、何がトリガーになってるのかっていうのはあるじゃない？
Well, yeah, I worry. Good evening, Chiana Sensei. I worry about kids who cry over the small, what I perceive as very small things, or especially what's perceived as a mistake. I worry about those kids because I see mistakes as being a very healthy part of the learning process.
まあだからmaking mistakes is bad みたいな、そういうbelief とか、そういうインプットがね、周りにあったり、どうしてこれ間違えたのとかね。なんかそういうプレッシャーがある子は、間違えた瞬間、また私やっちゃったみたいな、もうなんかパブロフの犬的に、間違い、怒られる、私ダメっていう、もうパスができちゃってる子はいるかもしれない。
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, the kids who cry because of a mistake they've made are usually kids quite outgoing and quite expressive.
Right.
Very smart, very intelligent, very outgoing, very communicative. But when it comes to a right answer or a wrong answer, they do not react well.
Right. やっぱ right or wrong じゃなくって、そこに行くプロセスだよね。
Yeah, and I tell them that. I'm not interested in the right or the wrong answer. I'm interested in your answer.
Yeah. しかもそのプロセスだよね。そこに行くまでのプロセスが大事で、どうしてそういう子に至ったかっていうね。
All right, so we need to break confidence down into confidence with speaking and confidence with writing, perhaps. There's also confidence with listening and reading too, I would imagine.
でも、まあ、アウトプットの方がね。
そう。
はっきりわかるからね。
そう。Because, yeah, like I said, some of the kids, certainly more than one, who cry when they make a mistake, not such a speaking mistake, but certainly written.
Right.
If you correct or if they're aware of mistakes in their writing, you have to make them aware.
まあ気づかせないとそのままlet it goになっちゃったら、そのままね、になっちゃうからね。それはそうだ。
They don't like it at all, but they have no problem expressing themselves this way.
まあでもともみ先生。
ともみ先生、good evening.
やっぱこう、書くときに初めてアウトプットってはっきりするじゃない、スピーキングと実は writing ってすごくコネクションがあるから、writing にエラーが多いってことは、実はスピーキングにもエラーがあるってことだからね。話せることしか書けないはずだからさ。そうね。その間違い、なんだろうね。間違っちゃいけないっていうか、例えばね、なんか、悔しいっていう意味で、私できたのに、ここまた間違えちゃった悔しいっていう涙だったら、まだ、ね、あれだけど、悔しいんじゃなくて、私やっちゃった、みたいな、そういう涙、もうダメだ、みたいな、いう涙だったら、ちょっとかわいそうだよね。
Yeah. I am also very sensitive to kids crying.
Right.
I don't want them to cry.
Yeah.
So, I give credit for effort. So nobody ever gets like a total like butts.
Yeah.
There's always points or credit for
罰って嫌だよね。
awful, isn't it? Awful.
私もう関係ないけど、娘のさ、こう、答案用紙とかの大きい罰も、そんな罰しなくてよくないって思うね。あんま見たくないね、あれね。ちょっとしたミスでも、罰は罰みたいな。まあ、that's reality って言えば reality なのかもしれないけど、I don't like seeing the big.
It's not a reality. I mean, in one way, it's a reality.
Yeah.
But what's right and what's wrong?
もうしかもさ、社会人になったらさ、絶対これが正解、絶対これが不正解ってあんまわかんないよ。曖昧なところにいるよね。で、結局、what do you think?
そう。See, it's awful, isn't it? We ask our kids, what do you think? And they tell us what we think, what they think, and we go, that's wrong.
That's terrible. It's
you know?
Terrible.
Yeah. No. So, yeah, the question of confidence.
Right.
Shall we refer to this?
Yeah.
Let's extend the discussion to this. I went to a website. I just typed a Google.
Yeah.
That's just one fact.
So.
Yeah. No, I don't like it.
つけるのも嫌だ。
Yeah.
私、
That's what I mean. I don't like giving them, and I don't like getting them.
なんか、
You know, and and another thing I really don't like is the sound boo boo.
でもそれもうゲーム的なね。ピンポンピンポンとかでしょ
Boo boo. You know, or even that with the fingers. You know, something really awful about that. It denies possibility. You know, and it's a slap in the face. You know what I mean? In terms of your output was
totally wrong,
not accepted.
So,
and I think
悲しいよね。
So I feel that all output should, to some degree, be accepted.
そう、そのね。
Output is important. So, yeah.
日本語で言うと、この間ちょうどね、その養成講座があった時に話をしたんだけど、受け入れるっていうか、アクセプトで受け入れるとか言うんだけどね、受け止めるっていう。でもこうぐっと理解しなくても、そういうような考えがあるんだってこう、まずキャッチする。キャッチしてあげるっていうさ、なんかもうすぐバウンスバックするんじゃなくて、なんか違う、その unexpected answer とか、interesting answer とか、ideas とか来たときに、とりあえずこう、キャッチすることが大事じゃない、キャッチしないでもバウンスバックする、違うみたいな。それが良くなくて。でもやっぱ自分の意見と人の意見が違ったときに、その理解をしようと思うことは大事かもしれないけど、理解できないこともあると思うのよ。あるじゃない？もういろんな大人になるといろいろあるじゃない。 まあわかるよ、デモみたいなのでしょでもそれってね、でもやっぱこう、アンダースタンディングまでいかなくても、とりあえずそれキャッチすることが大事。だよね、と思ったりします。
お、みのり先生。正解ではない。
辞書はニュートラルなのに、大きな物が視覚的にネガティブに意味をコミュニケートしてしまう。そうなんですよね。そう、ニュートラルな、だからその、やっぱどう取る ABC 理論ですよね。まあ、見たくないね、あんまりね。
I think some teachers, they feel that that's the role of the teacher, that to pass on correct information, and then and the student's role is to reproduce that correct information correctly. And
you
know, maybe teachers are really like,
because
they're limiting that they're right, but they're limiting their role as a teacher.
Right, because they're teaching. まあほら、teacher と student のね、立場っていうのは、teach が行われた瞬間に evaluation っていうのが来て、evaluation が来るということは、そこに実は、その right answer が存在しているっていうさ。
Yes.
Ideal right answer っていうの。
Yes, and if you're involved in public education or even private education, there's always talk about, yes, well, juken, and yes, well, tests, and yes, well, we don't like to do it. This is a classic from people I work with. We don't like doing it, but that's the reality. They've got tests.
何その reality って reality じゃないよ。That's an excuse.
They've got tests. Yeah, sure. Tests are fine.
Yeah,
tests are fine.
No problem. Yeah.
But why do tests have to come at the expense of students' confidence and self-esteem and self-efficacy? How come can tests be really that important that we need to negatively affect our students' mental health?
テストを受けることで自信がなくなるんだったらテストなくていいよね。
絶対そう。
テストがあることでチャレンジングになるんだったらいいけどね。まあでも、やっぱりね、その not right answer に対してどういう belief を持つかっていうことが大事だと思う。
I wonder if you could ask your students this. I'll tell you what, we've got a test today. If you want to know the score, and I'm going to mark the tests. If you want to know the score, tell me you want to know. If you don't want to know, I won't tell you. いいんじゃない？
まあね。
You give the students the choice whether they want to know the test result or not. That way, if the students say, I want to know, then they need to take responsibility with how they react to it.
Right. いわゆるスコアをさ、書かないっていうのもあるよね。
そう。
違うところは違うって指摘があったとしても。
Good evening, Yuri 先生。
いやー、まあでもね、なんかね、しょうがないね。
A teacher from America here called Claudia Pesce. She wrote a nice article. She wrote an article on busyteachers.com, I think is the homepage.
Right.
Yeah, I like probably most of her ideas. So I thought we might just discuss them.
Yeah. Let's
I feel some teachers actually believe their role is to punish the student to bring out their kuyashisa, which should drive them to try harder. Yes, I would imagine there are teachers with that attitude too. They feel that being kuyashi will motivate the kids.
Right. いや、そういう子もいるけど、そういう子じゃない場合もあるからね。
Yes, that's very true for some sports coaches too.
Right.
In like school clubs, and some of their coaches can be really strict and to the point where it's even been on the news.
まあでも、その勉強の中でもあるよね。やっぱここに受かりたいとか、こうパスしたいとか。
Yeah. So, yeah, I work with a teacher who I've seen saying to the students, you know, I've told you this so many times.
いるいる。そう
Yeah.
そうだからって感じじゃない
So he gets really frustrated by
Right.
the kids making the same mistake.
Yeah.
I don't get frustrated by the kids making the same mistakes. I'm like, oh, well, there's something wrong with the way I'm
Teach.
teaching it.
Provide.
Yeah. They're not producing the result that I want them to produce. So I'm not going to blame them.
No.
You blame me. You blame yourself.
そうだよ。だって理解してないから、ね、
しょうがないもん。
先生がスキルが悪いっていう。何回も言ってるでしょとか言って、ね。そう。響いてないからね。
そう、それだけだ。
Right, right.
You say, Chinatsu sensei, hello. Thank you for joining us. はい。Claudia. She asked the question, she's working with ESL learners, which is a little bit different from our situation, but still.
日本はね、EFL.
So we are with EFL.
Yeah,
she
English as a
is
foreign
with
language.
ESL, English as a second language learners. Are your ESL, or in our case EFL, learners confident in their English speaking skills?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
And she says, well, how can you tell if students are confident?
Right.
She says, well, confident learners participate more, speak more. They don't necessarily make fewer mistakes. That's true too.
True.
But they feel confident that they can communicate effectively in English.
Right.
They can say what they want to say. Confidence is not exactly linked to accuracy.
そう、それすごい大事。
Yes.
いや、今度実はこれセミナーで話そうと思ってたこともね。私。accuracy と fluency の話。
Which seminar?
専科。
Oh, the Senka. Okay, good. Yeah. It's all about attitude. それもそう。
大事。
大事。Attitude.
Attitude is everything.
Attitude is everything.
Yeah.
You know, attitude is like
everything.
A clean pipe.
Clean pipe?
If you've got the attitude, then the water flows better, smoother.
Yeah, okay.
That's kind of how I feel. The kids have the attitude, then more gets output.
Yeah.
It's the attitude.
Right.
It's not that attitude which helps students get their point across no matter how many times they make mistakes. So why is student confidence so important? It's important for students to feel confident because if they don't, they simply don't learn as fast.
その通り。
Or gain the fluency that they need.
That's right.
Exactly. You agree with that?
Yes, I totally agree with that. Makes sense.
Students who lack confidence often complain. Or say things like, I can't do it.
Right.
I don't know how to say that.
Right.
I can't speak English. And then she says, if your students need a boost, there are some ways to boost your student confidence. We're going to talk about those in a minute.
Right.
But yes, students with no confidence will be rather negative in class. I haven't really seen my kids being negative in class. They're not negative or positive.
Right.
You know?
これもさ、なんかこう、前にも話したことあるし、この間のね、養成講座とかでも言ったけど、例えばほら、英語は難しいとかね。もうお母さんできないわ、もう難しくて、あんた頑張りなさい的な、英語は難しいのかもしれないと思い込んでることを、English that's easy っていう人と、だと、英語っていうそのものの、ニュートラルなものに対する捉え方が違うと、英語を習い始めた時の、その伸びるスピードとか全然違うよね。
Yeah.
アティチュードっていうか、その belief っていうか、どういうその value があるかっていうね。
Yes.
そのニュートラルなそのファクトとかステータスに対してよ。だから、例えば、I can't do it って言った時に何ができないのっ っていうかさ、誰かと比べてるんじゃないかとかさ、なんかそれはすごくベーグなものだったりすると、完全にもう、
ブレインウォッシュ。
そう、ブレインウォッシュだし、よくほら、私言うけど、悩みは全部妄想だからっていう。It's not reality. 悩みなんかないし、頭の中で考えてるのが悩みなだけであって、実際悩みはないはずみたいな。
Right.
うん。
Right. The problem is not the problem.
そう、because you think it's a problem, that's a problem. っていう、それだけの話よね。
Right.
うん。できないって誰が言ったみたいな。
Right.
で自分が決めてるよ。
How you react to the problem, that's the problem.
そうそうそうそうそう。そう、本当そうだよ。
いいよね。
うん、
あれ、どこだっけ？
Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of
Right, Caribbean.
Yeah. It's a great line. In my classes, I'm sure in everybody's classes here too,
Right.
the kids with no confidence tend not to be negative, but simply quiet.
Or looking down. Or
looking down.
Or a very soft voice.
Very soft voice. And not very expressive.
でもそういう子ってでも日本語でもそうなんじゃないの？
I don't know.
日本語わかんないから。
I understand Japanese.
Yeah. ほら、もともとさ、日本語でも、こう、ちょっとこう恥ずかしいとか、自信がないとか。
Nice haircut. Thank you.
Who?
Yuri sensei said my haircut's nice.
そうそう、明日ライブなんですよね。関係ないか。後で言うけど。そうそう、なんだっけ。そうそう、日本語でも、その性格的にね、もう、英語であろうと日本語であろうとちょっとこう自信がない子っていう場合と、なんか英語になるとすごく元気になる子と、逆もあるじゃない。
Yeah.
そう。
Yeah.
実際のところどうなのっていう。
My high school kids, they're quite good, but they're very quiet. I mean, I can't hear them.
耳が遠いんじゃなくて。
Well, we discussed it, and I said, are you always this quiet? In Japanese, are you quiet? Like, do you speak, is your volume low? And they said, oh, no.
Oh.
Both of them.
Really?
Yeah. I've got a boy and a girl.
Right.
And they both said that English is quieter. They're much quieter.
Right.
Than when they speak Japanese. They're much louder.
Right. So why is that?
They don't know why.
That's interesting. まあでもそういうのあるよね。なんか英語になるとちょっとこう小さくなる。でも
Do
逆
you
に
notice any volume when I speak, any volume change when I speak English or Japanese?
英語喋ってるとき声大きいよね。
But that's not to say that my Japanese is quiet or low in volume.
でもやっぱ英語の時の方が自信があるから声が大きいんじゃない？
I guess so.
多分。
So it's understandable. I guess most people, do you feel there's a difference in volume when you speak English or but teachers speak English in the class, so their voice has to be big.
Yeah.
Otherwise kids don't hear them. どうですかね？
でもなんかこう、日本語と英語を話してるとき、ちょっとなんか違うっていうのはある気がしなくはないけどね。
I reckon your English is louder than your Japanese.
英語だから大きくなるのかな？
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
なるほど。That's interesting to know. ねえ、その confidence ね。
So, yes. Somehow in English, I used to feel I have to be genki and sound positive.
なんかね、
Yeah,
ね
that's the image of English, isn't it?
Right.
A lot of teachers feel like that.
声めっちゃ大きいもん。
Sorry.
耳痛い。
Chinatsu, a lot of teachers feel like that. They feel that they have to be genki because it's English.
なんかこれさ、ちょっと、ちょっとこうなんかこう、ダブルスタンダードっていうか、あんまりこう、ブレイシズムな感じになりたくないんだけど、あえて言うんだけど、アメリカ人の声って大きいって。
Hey, we'll talk about that in a minute. The classroom, I mean, interesting. I don't know how Japanese teachers feel about this, but native teachers do. They feel like they have to be Genki. And any native teacher in the classroom is always like, hello, everybody. Like they all feel they have to do this and high five everybody all the time. 気持ち悪いね。全然 it's not normal,
いや、なんか本当にさ、なんか、そう、わざとじゃなく、なんか、はーいとかいうのはあると思うのよ。元気みたいな。
What's this? Hello?
そんなことする
するよ。
そう、みんなじゃないでしょ。いや、ちょっと嫌だな、それ。
いや、ALT, I'm speaking about ALTs in public schools, okay?
今、まあね。
Yeah, okay, no, not everybody. I'm not going to generalize.
Right.
Okay.
言語が変わることで自分の人格も変わるような気がするなと学生時代に感じてました。あ、でも分かる気がする。そうですね。
Your personality changes?
Yeah, なんかね、ちょっと変わるっていうのは分かる気がするかな。英語のがやっぱはっきりするじゃない。動詞が先に来るからさ。
Yeah, but are you more Genki? Do you feel you have to be Genki in English?
なんかストレートに言っていいかなみたいな感じ。
Straight, yes.
そういう意味ではよ。日本人はやっぱハンボだし、こう動詞が最後に来るから、なんかもにゃもにゃごまかせて、we can speak very long sentences じゃない？それに比べて結構、英語を話したときは結構こう simple で、compact で、なんかもう straightforward みたいな感じがあるのかな。
I think most Americans would probably agree with you anyway. They were, yeah, we're loud. We're loud. I mean, I always, I've got not billions, but I've got, many American friends. I love Americans. I think I love Americans because, by and large, they're quite funny. I think they're hysterical. So, and yeah, it's true. Often I feel that you can hear Americans before you see them. You can hear them come onto the train, and then, they're over there. Do you know what I mean? I once caught a train when I was living in Saitama, and I was still catching trains to go to work, and it was peak hour. And these two Americans came on the train, and they were talking and chatting, and it was early in the morning, and so nobody talks on the train. So, because nobody knows each other, really.
Right.
So they were the only people on the train talking, okay? And then as we kept coming into new stations and the next station, and the train got more and more crowded. And so these two friends were like being separated by loads of people coming into the train, but their conversation was still going. So now the whole train could hear.
でもそれ今ダメだよね、コロナ的にね。
いや、本当はね、それも昔の話よ。And so they kept getting separated, but they were still talking and their voices were getting louder and louder. And they realized that they were so far away, but it was packed. And I was like, just listening to the conversation. And then one of them said, hey, you should come over here. I'm like, 無理でしょ。
大阪人は声が聞こえなくても身振り手振りで分かるって言われます。まあなんかちょっとそういうのあるのよね、きっとね。まああんまこれ全部をスキャンダライズしたくないけど、でもまあよく
聞くね。
でも大体そうだよね。大きい声話してるとアメリカ人だって言うと、ほらやっぱりみたいな感じのこと多いよね、マシはね。
Yeah.
私も多かったな、アメリカ人友達。
Yeah, but that's part of the reason why they're funny, I think it's great. Love them. Right, so yeah, voice volume tends to be a surefire sign that the kids are not very confident.
そうね。
Any other indications that your children are not confident? We've talked about kids who cry when they make mistakes, and we've talked about kids' voice volume. What about kids who say, I don't know to everything?
Yeah. こんばんは。
Shiro sensei, good evening. Kids who say, oh, I don't know.
そうね。I don't know って言える子供を作ること大事だけど、I don't know の先に何かないといけない、ね。
Right.
うん。
Or kids who say, no, not me, not me, not me. Don't pick me.
そうね。
They don't want to, yeah.
Right. So don't pick me はさ、
Ichiro sensei, good evening.
So don't pick me は本当にさ、やっぱりこう、自分は間違いたくないから、自分よりもできる人にお願いみたいなジェスチャーだよね。
Yes.
つまり比べてるよね。
Yes.
うんうん。
Yes. I would say, I would argue that the kids who don't have confidence are the kids who don't ask for help.
うん。
They don't ask for help.
つまりあれじゃない、プライドが高いっていうか。
Could be, or they feel that that their teacher expects them to produce the right answer. So if they're stuck, they're in trouble, they can't read it, they don't know.
Right.
They cannot admit they don't know.
Right.
Or they just never ask for help. And I've got a few students like that, and I'm like, it's okay. You can't read it. Just ask a friend, what's this? What does it say? No problem. It's not important that you can't read it. It's important that you ask for help if you need it.
その友達に聞くとか、ask for help っていう文化が学校教育の中ではないよね。
だと思う。
でも今はだいぶ何かほら、タスクに対しては、ナミ先生こんばんは。
小松先生、good evening。
あつこ先生も。
good evening。
なんていうのかな。なんかこう、みんなで話し合うようなトピックの場合はやっていいけれども、なんかまずは自分でやりなさいみたいな、やっぱ理解は自分がするものっていう、なんかのがあるんじゃない？
Yeah.
だ困った時に助けを求めるとか、で、それこそほら、チーティングみたいなさ、イメージが、
Yeah.
ちょっと教えてっていうのは、チートになるような気がしちゃうんじゃない？
Right. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, if students are given an education where the image is put, where they're expected to do everything themselves, then it's hard to ask for help, isn't it?
なんかね、ちょっと思い出したけど、わからないことは友達に聞くなっていうのはあったかもしれないし、学生の時に。だってその子が間違ってたらどうすんのって言われた気がする。
いいじゃん。
そう、だからわからないことは先生に聞きなさいっていう。なんか変な、お友達が間違えた解釈をしていたら間違ったことが伝わっちゃうから、わからないんだったら先生に聞きなさい的なことを言われた記憶があるな。そう、だからなんか友達に聞くっていうのはあんまりないっていうか。
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and I've told my students, it's okay. Ask for help, and they still don't. They still don't.
でもそれは、慣れなんじゃないかな。例えば、マッシュのクラスでは、わからないときはわかる子が教えてあげればいいし、わからないこと恥ずかしいことじゃないから、わからないって言った方がいいよっていう。助けてって言った方が得だよっていう。
Yeah.
でも、大人になってからそうだよね。助けてって言えない大人っていっぱいいるじゃん。
I guess so. It depends on what their problem is. But, what was I going to say? Yes, I mean, in my preschool too, we've addressed this actually quite a lot this week. Because we have a boy who we do reading.
Right.
We run a reading program, and they read books. And if there's a word they cannot read, they're going to try on their own. if they can't read a word, no problem, go and ask a friend. And so this one boy would never ask friends. And then he'd read to me and he couldn't read a word, expecting me to help him. I'm like, did you ask a friend? Well, go and ask a friend. Do it now. Then he'd ask a friend, come back, get to the next word. Go and ask a friend, go and ask a friend.
なんか悪いと思っちゃうんじゃない？ interrupt しちゃいけないみたいな。I don't want to disturb anyone みたいな。
Yeah. Or, mind you, his previous school was, I don't remember the name, but it's a very phonics-based school.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
Now, I have a feeling that the instruction of that school was very right or wrong. You know, kids' production, whatever kids produced was either right or it was wrong. So I feel that he's been in this environment, an educational environment where he had to do it himself. And
そうね、フォニックスやってると結構インディペンデントにやらせるよね。
And there's no discussion, I would imagine.
No, because you have to remember the rules.
You have to remember the rules. He's been given the rules. You've got to remember them. And then you got to read this.
So it's a very personal study, personal learning.
Yeah. So he gets to a word he can't read and he gets stuck. And he doesn't ask for help. So he should ask for help. In fact, that whole process of not asking for help and being stuck, I don't think that does good for your confident growth. Asking for help would probably do more for your confidence.
そうね、そうね。
だと思うよ。
わからなくても大丈夫っていうさ。だって自信がない子はわからないことに対して不安だし、聞いちゃいけないと思ってストレスだし、どんどんネガティブだよね。わかんないんだったら聞いて教えてもらおうっていうのはいいよね。私でもやっぱ子供たちが、同士が、にこう、聞いたりね、教えたりするのってすごくいいと思って、でなぜかというと、その分かる子が分からない子に教えてあげるっていうこともとてもいいことじゃない。教えることでこうもっとこうディープに分かるっていうかさ。だから、
That's a great process. Helping each other.
そうそう。で、分からない、そのバカにすることもないしね。なんかそういうのって大事だけど、仲間にないかな？ないんだよね。多分ね。
Mind you, there is a drawback with kids helping each other, and that is this: the kids who get helped, some of them start to, all right, well, I'm not going to do anything.
もう全部聞いちゃいます。
Yeah, and or they just wait.
Right. Somebody else.
Or they look troubled. And their friends go, you have to do it this, you got to do it like this, and they help them, and they don't ask for help, but they get it.
Yeah.
That happens at the preschool too sometimes.
周りからもう、
そう。どんどん nicely, they look, お世話になってますみたいな。
もうキングね。
Yeah. So.
まあでもそういう子いるよ。
Yeah.
もともとなんかそういうみんながやってくれる人っていない？気がついたらみんなやってくれてるみたいなさ。
Yeah!
もう King of the World みたいなのいるよね。
はい、じゃあね、クラウド、
先生知らないから教えてほしいんだけど、〇〇ってどういうことなのってよく生徒や我が子に聞きます。大人だって知らないことが当然あるし、聞くことが普通なんだと伝えたいですね。そう。learning by teaching。そう。本当そうだよね。だってわかんないんだもん、聞くよね。
そう。しょうがないよ。
知らないんだもん。
そう。So why do kids have this perception that they have to know everything?
Right.
Who gave them that
だってね、ここでもさ、いつもわかんないことを聞くよね。
Of course.
別になんとかプロフェッサーに聞かなくてもさ、これってどういうことなんだろうとか言ってディスカッションしたりするわけですよ。それすごく当たり前のことだよね。
当たり前。As adults, it's 当たり前。So why do we need to enforce?
そう、子供はダメなのみたいな、ね。
そう。
いいじゃん。
It's really weird. But again, maybe testing buts and all that creates that.
So very personal
Image.
individual learning かな test result は。そういうふうに、まあね。でもなんか時代的にはもうなんかちょっと違う気がする
違う。
うん。ちょっとやっぱ遅れてるよね。
Well, no, maybe look, if you disagree with us, definitely write some comments in the,
Right. 私思うけどさ、こう、
yeah, let us know how you feel about this and things. You don't need to agree with us.
Right.
We are very open to healthy discussion. And this is just kind of how we think.
Right.
But we don't have the right answers. You know, our comments and our observations and our ideas are all based on obviously a long experience and a policy. Because we have a direction for the kids where we want them to go. But
私ね、こうチョイスがあるっていうことに気づいてほしいんだよね。
the kids,
そう。
yes.
すべて自分がやらなきゃいけないんじゃなくって、自分がやらなくても人に頼れることもあるとかね。
Yes.
自分で頑張りたいときは自分で頑張ればいいし、人に聞きたいときには人に聞けばいいし、今のあなたはどっちがしたいじゃないけど、そのチョイスがあるっていうさ。
Yes, you bring up a very good point, and she's going to talk about that.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Good point. Well, keep going, keep talking.
いや、もうそういうことよ。
はい。
何でもこう、なんかこう、you should be とかさ、you must be じゃなくて、I have choices みたいな。to make. Which direction ね、I choose みたいな。でそれが、まずチョイスがいろんなことに対してもう一つでスタックするんじゃなくて、他にもチョイスがあるっていう、まあ、視点を変えていけばね、こういうこともパーセボー、こういうこともパーセボーみたいな感じで。その中であなたは何を選びますかっていう、この自分でジャッジして決めるっていう、このプロセスめちゃくちゃ大事よね。何事においても。
Yes. Having a choice, I feel, is very important because the kids need to take a risk.
So,
because by choosing something, they're rejecting something else. Yeah.
そう、選ぶっていう。こうしなきゃいけないんじゃなくて、どうしたいかっていうね。どうしたいかっていう。
Hey, Claudia Pesque from Busy Teaching or busyteachers.com. I apologize because I don't.
That's all right.
Hey. Number 7, number 1. There are 7 ways to boost student confidence. Let's talk about each one. Number 1. Don't correct students as much in free speaking activities.
Yeah, that's true.
She says it's important to correct students' mistakes. True. But what happens if you correct every other word a student says?
もう喋りたくないね。
So, when students make too many mistakes and you make it clear that that's what they are doing, their confidence starts to suffer.
そう。
だと私もそう思います。
その通り。
はい。Make the interesting. She goes, make the necessary corrections when you're doing targeted practice, but don't interrupt or correct as much during activities when it's better for students just to let go of their inhibitions and try to speak. So you're in target English activities, it's okay to correct. But in non-target English activities, what did she say? She calls them free speaking activities. Don't correct so much.
それも、
賛成です。
イングリッシュアップリフトの考え方と一緒だね。
そうそう。Double exclamation.
そうそう。
いいですね。Shall we move on? Number 2. Offer praise. What's praise in Japanese? 褒めるか。
褒めるってことね。
褒める。The other problem with corrections is that sometimes all we do is tell them what they did wrong and forget to tell them what. Yeah.
こう、できたことを褒めないで、間違ったことを指摘する先生って、いい意味でね、これ直したらもっといいよっていうメッセージがあると思うんだけど、でもそれが子供たちに伝わってない場合があるんだよね。 こうしたらもっといいのにっていうところで、できてないところにフォーカスいっちゃうけど、その先生の思いと、それを聞いた子供の受け取り方にギャップが生じることが多いよね。だからやっぱ褒めるってことをしてあげるっていうのは大事かもしれないね。
The only thing with praise is that I feel it doesn't, Japanese kids don't appear to react to praise in the same way that English-speaking kids do.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, I remember if I ever got praise, I'd smile and be happy with the praise. But Japanese kids don't seem to always smile or seem, they're like, I mean, I'd be like, I'm happy that sensei said something good about me in front of the class, right? But often Japanese kids, they don't react. I mean, I don't need a thank you. I don't need that, but not even a smile.
Right.
Has anyone ever felt that? That the kids don't react? Maybe it's part of the culture.
あまり褒められるっていう経験がないのかな、なんか褒められてもハンブルになきゃいけないっていうさ、褒められたことに対して、それをキャッチしにくいっていうか、なんか、いや、みたいな。そんな私なんてみたいなね。そのハンブルネスが邪魔してると思う。
But you still feel happy though.
Yeah. でもそのハッピーと受け取るのが良くない的なさ。
So as a teacher, I use praise for the specific purpose of giving kids confidence and making them feel better.
Yeah.
But they never indicate that they feel better. So I don't know.
I think they feel better, but they can't express it. They can't express. 表現することに、褒められたことに対してどう表現していいかっていうことに慣れてないんじゃないかなと思う。
そっか。
でも言われたら嬉しいと思う。ただ、中には、言ってるだけでしょっていう、信じてないっていう場合もあるよね。
本当に？いや、I know why they might think like that, because sometimes teachers praise kids, but they don't mean it. Or the praise is not appropriate. It's like over the top. It's like, whoa, すごいね. You said I'm fine, thank you. You know what I mean?
あるある。もう残念だけどさ、なんかちょっとさ、なんか、
そう。
ベナナって言っただけで、おーみたいな。ナイスイントネーションみたいな。
And I got a lot of that when I was working in the public schools.
Right.
As the ALT, you'd ask kids, you'd say, hey, Yuta, how are you? Yuta says, oh, I'm fine, thank you. And Sensei's like,
担任の先生がでしょ？
そう。
なんかちゃんと言えましたっていう。ほら、ちゃんと言えましたっていうのは、答えに合ってますっていう
メッセー
ジじゃない？ I'm fine, thank you. おーとかね。なんか、What's your favorite color? とか、What color do you like? I like pink. おーみたいな。でピンクが好きで、なんでそこで拍手なのみたいな。I like pink って言えたーって拍手でしょ？まあそういうのあるよね。
ある。So sometimes the praise is not
そう、褒めてないです。上からの評価。そう。なんっていうやつよね。ちょっと言い方悪いけど、まあこのグループだからいいよね。そう。なんか褒めるところが違うよね。でも特にあるね。すごーいみたいな。何がすごいんだろう。あった。なんか、そう、ちゃんと言えた。どうってなるね。
言えた, so I praise them. Well, あんまりしない. But I do praise kids' ideas. Oh, that's a great idea. That's an interesting idea. Yeah. And effort.
Right.
If they've tried.
例えばさ、チャンツウェスターみたいなの入れたらおーってなるかもしれないけど。
そうだね。
でもやっぱりなんていうのかな。褒めることに対しても、何を褒めてるのかってことも大事じゃない？ よく褒めるときに、人を褒めるんじゃなくて、その行動であったりとか、アティチュードであったりとか、具体的に褒めるといいっていうし、その逆もそうじゃない？ なんかダメなことがあった場合に、なんかこう、パーソナリティをアタックしてるような、じゃなくてね。わかる？その褒めることも、まあ褒め方とか叱り方みたいなものになるかもしれないけど、
Yeah.
褒めることに対してはね。
Yeah. そうね。effort. すごいよくやった、頑張ったね。
頑張ったねに対してはもう、praise だよね。
And regardless of the result.
Yeah. The process is important. Challenge したとかね。Next one?
Next one. Interesting. She says, teach in context.
まあでもこれはESL って意味で言ってるからね。
Yeah. Just to let you know what it says. It might be a bit hard to understand this one, but this is what she says, and then we'll discuss our interpretation of what she's saying. She says, we should always try to teach in context because it gives students a background to lean on. It's much harder to learn isolated words or grammar without the right context, or I would interpret a situation, to remember them by. How does it help student confidence? If you use a context students are already familiar with, say shopping, you will allow them to work with a situation they are able to handle. You'll just be using a different language to talk about it. Now, my interpretation of that is context means, in my case, situation. Teach in situation. 要は non-target English の導入、non-target English の使わせる経験、boost kids' confidence. And I firmly believe that.
そうね、シチュエーションとそのバックグラウンドっていうのは、やっぱりこのいうバックグラウンドっていうのは自分のその経験値。
で、
経験値っていうのは今そのノンターゲットで言うと、自分だったら日本語でこう言うのにっていう、その経験値だよね。
Yes.
そう。
Right.
だからその、全く未知ではなくって、自分にとってこう自分ごとになってるものに対してはそれそうだね。
Yes. She says you will allow them to work with a situation they are able to handle. They're able to handle because they understand the situation. They've experienced the situation. It's not a puzzle. It's not something completely new. It's the situation that they understand. And then you give them the English that they need to use for that situation. You'll just be using a different language to talk about it. So I think she quite nicely describes non-target English. Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Give students chances to succeed.
そうでしょ。なんか結構当たり前だな。
Yes.
なんて書いてあるの？
Your students don't speak English like you do, which is why it's important to sometimes take the focus away from their weakness and place it on their strengths.
Right.
Give chances, right. Recognize students' strengths. Right. The teenagers or young learners can talk about places that you've never been to. You're suddenly, you're a role model. So it's okay to put yourself kind of like under the kids, like, you know, oh, you've been to there? I've never been to that place. Can you tell me all about it? So the kids placing the kids in a situation where they feel like they have an advantage.
それはあるね。
なるほど。Those who have special talents or special skills can teach their classmates and can teach you.
自分のがちょっとこう、superior な感じね。
Yes.
ちょっとだけね。
ちょっとだけね。temporarily.
Right.
そう。
あんまりこう、inferior も superior の方がちょっと confident で出るよね。
Yeah. So I've got a student who's like an amazing he's like bowling. His sport is bowling and he is fantastic. He's only like 7 years old. He's 1年生. And his bowling score on a regular basis is like well over 200 or something. Like he's high.
すごいね。7歳で?
Yeah. And he loves it when I tell him.
Right.
When he comes in the afternoon and we take his temperature and it's like 36.7. And I always tell him, oh, that's my bowling score. Yeah, or I say like, my bowling score is 37.4. So if your temperature today is higher than my bowling score, you have to go home.
なんでそこで。
そうそうそう。
なんかどうでもいいんです。
どうでもいいです。はい、so give students chances to succeed. Drew, when it comes to chances for students to succeed, I feel very strongly that non-target English experiences give them that experience. Well, there's only 7. We've got 3 more. It's okay. Yeah, all right, a little bit of time left. Use visuals. Use visuals like flashcards, posters, graphic organizers. Also provide something students can lean on so that they're not left hanging in the air.
まあ、わかりやすいっていう意味でね。
If a student...
いや、でもこれほら、養成講座でやってるさ、ノンターゲットのコンパリソンするじゃん。
あ、OK。
そういう感じ、ビジュアル。
なるほどね。そうだね。
そう。
Yes。
だから
意味を理解する。
そうそう、意味を理解するためにビジュアルがある方が、comfortable っていうか、confident ね。
Yeah. So it's interesting how she mentions flashcards, which I don't use flashcards, but the visual, like body language, to match with your English.
そう。ビジュアルだったら何でもいいじゃない？
It's some make all learning goal-orientated. Goal-oriented. She says, I cannot emphasize the importance of goal-oriented learning. If you set clear goals with your class at the start of the school year and even at the start of each class, they will have a better sense of what they've accomplished.
Right. ゴールがあれば達成できたっていうのがまたその自信になるってことでしょ？
Say you start the class by telling students that today they will learn how to check in and check out of a hotel. Now this is ESL, obviously. ESL. Finish the class by saying, congratulations, now you're ready to check into any hotel. They'll be amazed at how much they've learned. Tashine. I don't agree. But that depends on what your goal is. Now, for my classes, my goal is to have the students use English as much as possible. So at the end of each class, if you can show them how much they've used, then that can give them confidence. So in that respect, I agree. But I don't usually tell the kids that at the start of each class. Today we're going to learn this.
結構それ多いよね。多いね。でも、これさ、前も言ったと思うけど、私がその子供たちに教えてるときに、So today we're going to learn how to read clocks みたいなさ、time とか言って言うと、なんでって言われた一言が忘れられなくてね。そうだよね。っていうか、もうそれ先生の都合でしかなくて。なんでって言われたら、もう何も言えなくなっちゃってさ、だって準備したんだもんみたいなね。だってテキストだってそうじゃん。もう次のページにあるんだもんみたいな感じじゃない？だから、あんまりそれを言わないでやっちゃった方が楽しくできたっていうかさ。
I think so.
だからそこからだよね、私言わなくなったの。今日これをやりますって言わないで、先生何をするんだろうって all ears で聞いてもらってる方が、あ、今日時計だったんだみたいな方が、結果オーライだったっていう。でもこれね、私日本語やってる時に、日本語教師やってる時には、絶対言うなって感じだったのよ。
なるほど。
絶対言わないで、導入で意味を見せたときに、もうそれが勝負だって。
なるほど。私もそう思う。
それで、その導入が失敗したら全てが失敗だからって言って、その意味の導入をどうするかっていうことを、言わないでね、ターゲット言わずに、そのシチュエーションとかいろんなジェスチャーとかいろんなフラッシュカードがいろんな使って、あ、こういうことをやるのねっていう、そこまでのプロセスがめちゃくちゃ大事って習ってきてたから、でもほら、英語の場合は最初に日本に帰ってきて英語の先生になった時に今日はこれやりますよとか今日はフルーツやりますよみたいなトピック先に言う先生が多くって、そういうふうにやるもんだと思ってたから、思わず言った時にほら、食べ物とか動物とかだったら子供も好きだけど、なんか時間って言われたらなんでって言われたら、いや、そうだよねって感じじゃない。
And I've worked with team teachers who have totally destroyed my Dornu because they've told the kids what we're doing.
そう、なんか言わないでと思うよね。そう。こういうことやるんだって聞いて。
全然さ。
わかる。
ね。
そう、なんでめっちゃするんだ。そう。そのため、 what for だよね。なんでだよね。何のためにやるのって。ごめん、先生の都合みたいな。
そう。
若い時はそういうことありました。
My team teacher totally destroyed my door
Right.
because I was unable to capture the students or I wasn't able to engage the students anymore because the kids already knew. They knew what was in the bag.
It's just like translation.
Yeah.
Like a, そこにこういうことをやろうとしてたんだって分かったことに成功感があるのに、それはなんか簡単にトピック言われちゃったらめっちゃ悲しいよね。
Yeah.
それはあるね。それはあるね。
So,
あるある。
Hey, last one.
はい。
Bring in habits and use repetition from day one. Habits and repetition. Getting your students to feel confident they can speak English right from the start is not as difficult as you may think, she says. Teach them essential phrases they will have to use again and again. May I go to the bathroom? Could you please say that again? One more time, please. Speak more slowly. These are, if they constantly repeat these phrases, they will soon enough become like second nature. They won't have to hesitate at all. Create habits by having them ask or say similar things every lesson. I agree.
そうね。繰り返せば。
Yeah. Keep adding to the mix to give them a wider range of expressions.
Right.
賛成です。
Yeah. そりゃそうだ。
Lastly, she sums up. Confident students are happy students. Confident students feel they can accomplish what they set out to do in their class and beyond. When they have to use their language skills in the real world, what more could you want from them?
Right.
はい。賛成です。
そうだよね。自信がない人はずっと不安だけど、自信がある人は楽しいとかチャレンジするしね。それはそうだね。だからどういうふうにその一つのものに対してどういうビリーフを持つというか、どういうバリューを作るかによって全然変わってくるからね。
True.
でそのビリーフっていうか、バリューはどこから来てるのかっていう。もともと自分から感じるものもあるし、その他の人の影響っていうのもあったりするわけだからね。でもさっき言ったみたいに、いろんなビリーフがあって、いろんなバリューがあっていいと思うから、その一つじゃないっていうね。いくつかあって、I have choices to make っていうところだよね。
Yeah. Sorry, it wasn't in this one. You were talking about the choices. It was in a different article that I was reading, where if you give students choices, and parents can try this with their kids too. So instead of saying, for example, it's raining, wear your boots. Please wear your rain boots. Instead of saying that, saying things like, look, it's raining. Do you want to wear your rain boots? And giving them the choice of saying yes or no. And if they say no, then go with it. They go outside, they get their feet soaking wet, and then they're given the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. And if you give kids a choice and they feel they've made the wrong choice and they can learn from that mistake that they made, then that will boost their confidence. That was an interesting
それすごく大事。それってね、イマジネーションを育てることにもつながって、これのチョイスしたらどうなるんだろう、こっちになったらどうなるんだろうっていうのを考える。イメージする力ってとても大事。そのイメージが正しいとか間違いじゃなくてね。こうなったらどうなるんだろうっていう、その頭で考える。っていうのってやっぱ大事だと思うから、やっぱりチョイスがあるっていうこと大事だよね。
That's an interesting example she gave though. You wouldn't really imagine, and I certainly don't imagine myself asking my kids, do you want to wear your rain boots? I'd be like, wear your rain boots, you know? So,
yeah.
Yeah. でもやっぱり、ほら、親の都合。
親の都合。
Yeah.
なんかびちゃびちゃになってるのを見たくないとか、なんか濡れたって文句言われるんだったら今のうち履いとけって言いたいし、みたいなね。それはあるよね。やっぱそれ余裕だわ。自分たちがどのぐらいこう余裕があるかっていう。いいよ、オッケーってなるのが一番いいんだろうけどね。でもこれもさ、こう分かっててもそうしちゃう時があるじゃない？ でもそれに気づいてるか気づいてないかってすごく大きいと思うよね。あ、なんかチョイス大事だけどチョイスあげなかったなって思うのか、もう This is it っていうのか、This is the right answer みたいなっていうのかってやっぱ違うよね。うん。
Yeah, I'm probably much more of a conservative, like an old thinking kind of parent than I am a teacher.
That's right.
I think so. I don't feel like I give the kids the choices I probably should give them. You know, I'm like, many rainbows.
この T シャツは合わないからこっちみたいな。
そう。
結構言うよね。私はある系。
そう。ちょっとね。
靴下こっちの方がいいよ。なんでと思うけど。
Again, maybe in like perhaps conservative teachers or old school teachers would say, well, that's what you do as a teacher. I kind of feel, well, maybe that's what you do as a parent. You know, guide the kids to my vision of the right way.
Right. So,
we're not a parenting channel here. We're a classroom channel here. And being a teacher and being a father is completely different.
Right. So,
as I know everybody understands. By all means, please, if you have ideas for topics for us to talk about, please send us in. We're kind of not running out of ideas what to talk about. We sometimes think, have we already talked about this? You know, so.
見返せばいいんだけどね。なんかね、気がついたらね、チャンネル登録者が90何人になってて。
90何人
?97? いや、90何とかってなってて。なんかもうちょっと言ったら100になりそうだね。
Great.
すごいね。ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much for all your support.
で、そう。で、あと、ちょっと LINE 公式アカウントの方で事務局から連絡してもらったんですけど、専科の、セミナーをね、やります。で、実はこのご案内してから問い合わせが結構あって、どうしても受けたいんだけど、その日がどうしても都合が悪いっていう方がいて、なんとか受けたいっていう方がいらっしゃったので、そのセミナーに関しては、
まさか。
当日、その次の日まで、動画で見られるようにしようかと。
素晴らしい。
だからその場にいなくても、ちょっとね、後から見る感じになるけれども。
So that's a bit like the retreat.
そう、リトリートの時みたいな感じに、ね、
なるほど。
しようかな。なんか受けたいんですけど、どうしてもっていう方が何かいらっしゃったので。
Okay, so we'll film it.
そう。録画をして、
put it up maybe on a Facebook group?
そうですね。ちょっとまだ今考えているところです。どういうふうにしたらいいかなっていう。4つあるのでね。なんか全部受けたいっていう、全部申し込んでくださる先生、申し込みくださってる先生もいらっしゃるし。でも全部行きたいけど1個だけどうしてもっていう方がいて、なんとかしてほしいっていうのがあったりしたので、今回のものに関しては、録画したものを、配信、して、次の日ぐらいまで見られるようにしようかなと思うので、興味がある方はぜひお申し込みいただいたらいいかなと思います。
Yes, so yeah, don't feel that you will not be able to participate because one of the days isn't suitable for you. We'll record it, video it, and it will be available for viewing for up to 24 hours or 48 hours?
48かな
2 days.
2 days にしようかなと思います。今のところね、とりあえずその日で参加できなかったら終わりっていう形にはならないようにしたいなと思います。
Great. いいと思います。
ね、お問い合わせいただいたんで。はい。なんかすごいやる気の先生
Thank you for everybody's interest
ありがとうございます。
in these seminars.
そうですね。結構、すごくイングリッシュアップリフトっぽい感じでやりますので、ぜひ。
We can't wait.
そう。
Cannot wait for these. Cannot wait. It's going to be fantastic.
とりあえず3時間撮ってますけど、ちょっとオーバーするかもしれない。
It's a nice idea for me. Thank you. Great. Shinon sensei, great. We're looking forward to seeing you.
はい。
いいですね。
そう。
All right.
はい。じゃあ今日は、
はい。今日は、
これで。
Hey, everybody,
じ
please
ゃあ、皆さんで今日は
don't forget to brush your teeth tonight.
そう、みんなで、ね。ね。なんか、こうみんなで歯ブラシ曲げ大会やってみるかもしれないね。
いいね。
興味がある人は。
いいね。We should do that on Zoom next time. Hey, everybody, toothbrush up. You ready?
まあまあ、でも、やってみたい人、ぜひやってみてください。ちゃんと私やって、マシューに教えたら、マシューもできたんでね。はい。くれぐれも力で折らないように。
Thank you very much.
はい。
We'll be back next Thursday. I
そ
think
う
we
です
haven't
ね。
checked the schedule, but we
多
should
分
be
できる
okay.
かなと思う。で、今日すいませんでした。ちょっと URL がちょっと急に無効になっちゃって。でも、たくさんの先生に、もうすごい15人の先生もね。
Thank you for joining us this evening.
コ
And
ツは教えてもらえないのですね。今日はやめときましょう。また次回ね。やりたい方がいたらね。
break a few toothbrushes while you're trying. It'll be fun.
そう、宴会芸になるからね。年末までにはやってみるかもしれないけど。
いやー、いいですよ。
うん。じゃあ、今日もありがとうございました。
Bending that toothbrush gave me the confidence I needed.
そうでしょ ?Oh, I can do it.
I
みたい
can
な。
do it. そう、すっごく嬉しかった。
うん。
はい。
Everybody can do it. Yes.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.
おやすみなさーい。ちょっと長かった。ちょっとハブリちゃんの話したからね。いやでも嬉しかったのよ。
大丈夫、大丈夫。
なんかやってみ、おー、できたっていう。
そうそう。いいよね。
そうそうそう。どんどん。これは曲げやすいね。このタイプはね。
Yeah. The other one was better. The
透明の方が硬い
透明。
けど。
Hey, thank you. Good night, everybody.
はーい。